Okay, welcome to your next lesson in graphics. This lesson is going to deal with how to model this three-dimensional object here in front of me, commonly referred to as a cast iron bracket. So the first step to any modeling task is to study the drawing and then to work out a plan of attack as to how you might model it. This actual object probably doesn't lend itself very well to drawing one particular face. More so, we could probably break this up into three separate parts, or three separate stages, not parts, separate parts, but three separate stages. I'm going to take the approach here of I'm going to call this area here the base. I'm going to call this area here the tower. And this triangular section here is commonly referred to in engineering terms as a web. So the first thing we'll do is we'll draw the base, we'll attach the tower, and lastly put in the web. That's my plan of attack. So to do that I need to take some measurements or need to read the dimensions. I can see here that the base is 100 millimeters in length, 45 millimeters in width, and 19 millimeters in thickness. So remembering that, I'm going to go over to Creo and start my drawing. So back to Creo. And remember, the first thing you should always do when opening Creo is to select your working directory. I'm going to drill it through my Google Drive into my PA10 Graphics, Industrial Design, Classwork 2017. And here I need to make myself a folder for this cast iron bracket. So if I want to make a folder here, come to the Organize tab, New Folder, and I need to call this Cast Iron Bracket. Click OK, and now click OK again down the bottom here, and that makes that folder the directory where all the files are going to be saved to. So click OK. Alright, so now we need to create a new part, so come up to the New icon. Make sure it's defaulted to part. We need to give it a name, CI underscore bracket. Now remember that you can't have spaces or any other strange characters in there that aren't allowed. So always make sure you use the underscore for space. Click OK. Oh, okay, I've got one there from another drawing, so what I have to do is give it a different name, cast iron bracket 1, that'll do. And here, if you want your name to appear in the drawing, it's a good idea to put model by and your name there, and then we can click OK. Okay, we're now into the modeling environment where we can start to draw sketches and extrude them. You may or may not have your this ribbon bar down the bottom here. It may be floating around up there. To put it down the bottom, you can right-click Location, Add to, I think it says Taskbar. Either way, what you'll need to do is in that bar find the planes icon. This one looks here, and you need to turn the planes on. So you can see here we've got a front plane, a lateral plane, and a base plane. So I'm going to draw this shape, this 100 by 45 millimeter shape rectangle. I'm going to draw that on that base work plane, and then I'm going to extrude it down to give me my 19 millimeters in thickness. So select my base work plane so it goes red, then click on the sketch icon, and then come across to my geometry options. I want a rectangle, but I'm not going to draw it via the center. I'm going to come across to the More tab here, come to the rectangle tool, and click on the corner rectangle tool. Come down and snap to the intersection of these two axes. Click once, move the cursor away in a rectangle shape, and click again. At this point we have no idea what size this is, so before going any further, come to the selection tool, click onto it, and we can see here that it's a lot larger than what it actually needs to be. You see how I'm just pulling those dimensions outside the drawing so it's not cluttered up, which is a good practice to do as well. So to change a dimension, you simply double click onto it, type in the correct dimension, and hit the enter key. 100 by 45, and that is one rectangle that has been drawn. Fantastic. I'm happy with that as my sketch, so then I come up and I say, yes, that is a good sketch. It has no open lines, there's no closed loops, so I accept that sketch. You'll see as I accept that over here in the model tree, we can see that the sketch has been added to the model tree. There's the 3 default work planes that we had, and here's the first thing that I've done. So while that sketch is still highlighted, we're going to apply an extrusion to it, which means we're going to use the geometry or the lines from that sketch, and we're going to extrude. So come to the extrude button, select it, and at this point here I'm going to grab my center mouse button, I'm going to click and hold it down and drag away a little bit, and you can see we can rotate things around. Okay, so at the moment the yellow icon here is representing that it's dragging it up. If I click on that yellow icon, you see it flips it to go down. That's also achievable here in the ribbon bar at the top here. We can flip it either up or down. So I'm going to leave mine down. Obviously you can change its size here on the screen by double clicking on it and typing a size in there, or you can grab the little yellow box there and you can drag that up to where you need it to go as well. So I'm going to type in 19 millimeters, hit the enter key, and I'm now guaranteed that that is the correct thickness. So now I can click the green arrow for accept, and we've got the base started. I'm going to come to my predefined views here, and I'm going to, saved orientations I should say, and I'm going to select isometric, and you can see it puts it around to a good orientation, which looks a little bit similar to what my actual drawing is. Okay, let's go study the drawing for what's next. So we've got that sort of rectangular box shape in. We can see there's a piece cut out of the bottom here, and there's a round on the front here. So let's deal first of all with this piece that's been cut out. Seems to be a rectangular shape, and we're looking for some dimensions. It's 63 millimeters long, and it's 6 millimeters in height, and it's actually been removed out of that 19 millimeters. It's not added on, it's actually removed. So remembering that 63 by 6, let's go back to Creo, and this is the face here that I want to draw on. So you can see as my cursor goes over faces, it pre-highlights that blue. If I hold it there, you can see it highlights on an edge. So we want to actually draw on this face, so it's pre-highlighted blue. I click once with my left mouse button, and you see it makes it go red. That means that I can now apply a sketch to that actual plane. So come up to the sketch tool, click once, and here now I actually need to draw a rectangle from that corner to somewhere down here. But I need to, to get that corner there when I start my geometry, I need to have these dotted lines going along that edge to give me something to snap to. So to enable that, I go to my References tab, come down and click on those edges, and you can see as I click onto them, it actually puts a reference line on there that I can use to then draw some geometry on top of. Click OK or close. Now I'm going to use my rectangle tool just like I did before in the More tab. I'm going to snap that corner to that corner there, click once, move it away, round about the right size, what I think it might be, and then use the selection tool. Once again, grab these dimensions and pull them out of the drawing a bit, and if my memory serves me correctly, it was 63 long, enter, and this should have been 6 in height, and enter, 63 by 6. And you can see because it's one closed loop of lines, it's filled the internal of that sketch in. Okay, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to grab my center mouse button on my mouse again, hold it down, and I'm going to move it so I can see it at an angle. Okay, you can see over here now we've got a sketch has been added, and I'm going to now apply an extrusion to that sketch, but this time instead of adding material, I'm going to subtract material. So come up to the extrude button, and you can see it defaulted and it tried to add some material out the front here. If I grab that little yellow square there, click and hold, and I drag it back through, you see it then defaults to actually cutting away. Adds it on, cuts it away, and bring it right out the back there. You can control that as well with this icon here. If I toggle between cut and add, you can see that's adding it on. Click on it again, that's cutting away. That's probably all we really need to know at that point. There are some other options here, but we won't go into those right now. One thing you must make sure of is when you go to extrude something, that you're always extruding as a solid. If it ever defaults to the one beside it as a surface, that means that you have issues with your original sketch, which you need to go back and fix. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's cutting it away, so I click OK. And you can see there it's removed that material all the way through. All right, at this point, I think I might turn these planes off because they're getting a little bit ordinary, so I'm going to turn them off just like so. You can zoom in and out with your mouse. And now I'm going to apply this round to this front corner here. So let's have a look at that in the drawing. You can see we've got a round on the front of this base part. And if I look closely, it tells me that it's a radius of 19, which means that if I could take a point from there and measure out, would be 19, from there to 19, and that would be a radius there of 19. So we can use a feature within Creo called the round tool. All we need to do is select the edge that we wish to apply the round to. So I'll move my cursor over and I'm going to select an edge. So this time, rather than a face, you see as I place it there on that edge, it pre-highlights in blue. So I click once to pre-highlight it. It changes it from blue to red. Now that it's red, if I go to my round tool up here, it will then apply a round to that edge. And you can see we can adjust the size of that round once again, either here dynamically or up here, and we can accept that size. So it was 19, and hit the enter key and click OK, and a round has now been applied. Fantastic. Alright, last thing to do to this base before we go adding on the tower is to do this sort of complex hole over here. If you look closely, there's actually two holes, and this is currently referred to as a counterbore hole. If you have a look down here, there's some pictures of some machine screws, and this is the type of screw that would actually be, or bolt would actually be sitting inside this hole. So there's a large diameter hole of 20. That large diameter hole is for a depth of 6. You can see that there's the indicator of depth of 6. And the hole which goes right through the center is a diameter of 10. So we'll do that again. Diameter of 10 hole through the center. This symbol here represents a counterbore, which means that there's a large diameter hole above it, which is a diameter of 20 and a depth of 6. Okay, so let's remember that, and let's put that counterbore hole into your actual model. Okay, so there's two ways you could do it. You could draw a couple of circles and extrude it in, or there is actually a hole feature, which is probably more technically correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hole onto this surface up here. So I click once to select the object, and then I click that top surface to say the hole is going to go onto there and down through it. Click onto the hole feature, and you'll see this hole just appears to be trying to position itself onto that top surface. The first thing you need to do is to grab these green handles and lock them onto a known edge. So I know that the distance from the front edge to the center needs to be 19. From this edge to the center needs to be 19. So I'm going to grab the end of this green handle, drag it and let it go on that edge. You can see there that it's now giving me a dimension. And grab the other green handle and bring it forward to this edge here. And we can change the distances now from the center of that hole needs to be 19 from both edges. So double click on those, 19, okay, 19, okay, or enter I should say. So now the center of this hole is a distance of 19 there and there. When we look at the hole though, we can see here that it's not the right shape. So there's lots of options here we have with this ribbon bar for putting in holes. The first one is a simple hole. Well, we actually need something a bit more complex. So the next one says a standard hole. I'll get you to click onto that one. And once you click onto standard hole, you can then here see that we've got a whole lot of different options as far as threads and counterboards and sinks and so on. So that's what we want to do. We want to come across here and actually identify the counterbore option. Click on that, and it looks like it's just very, very small at the moment. So what I'm going to do there is this icon here says add tapping. I'm going to remove that tab. Back to shape again. Okay, and it seems to be very small for some reason. So what I'm going to do is, I'll just go back a bit, sorry, because that was a bit confusing for you. This icon here puts a thread into it, which we don't want, so make sure that's unchecked. And then come to this dialog box that says shape, and you can see we've got a preview, if you like, of what the counterbore would actually look like. So the top diameter of the top hole was 20. Hit enter. Now it's starting to look more like what we're supposed to see. The depth was a depth of 6. Okay, so this is telling me here that I can't enter 6, and the reason that I can't enter 6 is because this hole here is not going all the way through. So I need to tell the computer that this hole needs to go all the way through. So to do that, I use this specify the drill depth type. I click on that icon there, and I let it go onto the hole that goes all the way through, and you can see the resulting feature here. So 20 mil wide for the top hole, 6 mil deep, and the hole through the center needed to be a diameter of 10. Okay, let's have a look at that. Yes, that looks correct now. 19 in from the edges, 20 and 6 deep, and 10 all the way through. Okay, I'm happy with that, so I click OK, and you can see that's put that counterbore through. Now, it has actually added a note here as well. I don't want that note, so to edit that feature, all I need to do is come across to hole 1, right click onto it, click onto edit definition, which is this sort of little sphere with the pencil on it. And where it says note here, click on note, and just uncheck the box that says add a note, and then accept that again, and you can see the note then disappears. Okay, so that is enough to get you going with the base, and we'll do the tower and the web next.